Insecurity is a big issue in the Niger Delta region. Time and again, the activities of the militants has wreaked havoc, like attacks on oil installations, resulting in drop in oil revenue. The federal government's solution to this issue is to engage 10,000 youth from the Niger Delta Amnesty Program for pipeline surveillance. There is a twist to this also, as it's raising lots of anxiety over struggle for the control of the recruitment exercise by various indigenous groups in the Niger Delta region. The big question is this the way to go, or will this not compromise security in the region? Welcome to Question Time. I'm Benga Ashiru. Please join in this conversation. Send us your comments on our social media platforms. Coming back to the nitty-gritty on the Niger Delta security, our guest on this episode is the Minister of the Niger Delta Affairs, Mr. Usan Uguru. Join us in this interview.
If the government has decided to engage the youth of the region altogether, I think the basic precondition is to have youths from the region. I do not think anybody has the right of franchise, as it were, to suggest that this is the sole body that must nominate the youth to be engaged. Anybody, there will be a set criteria, of course, or a set of criteria that will be used to engage the youth, so to say. And one thing we want to do is to be sure that the communities that are worst affected or most affected in terms of having the economic infrastructure in their locations that desire or deserve to be engaged, so that there will be inclusive participation of the communities, is the basic consideration. And so whether one belongs to PANDEF or you are a member of the host community, all mean the same thing, because PANDEF is said to be a pan-regional organization that speaks as a voice for the people. There are several other groups. The HostCom is a voice that speaks for the communities that host these oil installations, and so on and so forth. So it is not particularly controversial as to which one takes precedence over the other. It only depends on the issues in engagement or of engagement.
Is the indecisiveness of government to have a clear-cut criteria in engaging these youths not creating more tension within the region?
It is faulty to think that the federal government is indecisive. The federal government has laid out the criteria by which this selection will be made, or the choices will be made. And so it is not that government is indecisive. Instead, it is the fact that everything in this industry, in this sector as a policy, has to take gradual procession. And so it is step-by-step procedure, so that we don't get back again and have the controversies that are already besetting some other programs in the past, looking as if government was unserious. So government is quite decisive about it, and that is why it has become a policy of government to involve the communities in the surveillance of economic infrastructure in the region.
What are the set criteria for engaging these youth? Since you said that you have a clear-cut criteria for engaging the 10,000 youths for oil installation surveillance.
The basic one is that the youths must come from those communities within the region. And the second is that the community will also be involved. The third is that there must be either pipeline or some other form of infrastructure that is found to situate in your locality. And the others, of course, will be defined according to certain considerations suitable for the industry, as well suitable for the maintenance of peace.
The Niger Delta Ministry has been accused of playing politics in the selection of this 10,000 youth for oil installation surveillance in the Niger Delta region.
In the first instance, we have not even engaged the youth so far in terms of this surveillance, because the major perspective of the surveillance is to be carried out by the petroleum industry, by the Minister of Petroleum Resources. by the NNPC. The role of the Niger Delta Ministry is in the fact of having to superintend over the affairs of development in the region, and that is our involvement. And so we are in a situation where we look at, supervise, advise, and coordinate. So for anybody to say so is being presumptuous, probably out of anxiety or what is expected, out of fear. So we have not even engaged youth.
Now, who has the legitimate right to engage this youth for the oil installation surveillance?
From the perspective of government, this administration is so liberal in dialogue, in engagement, that we are ready to talk with as many people as are forthcoming as far as they have issues for discussion. And this is the reason you find that since the mandate was given to the Vice President to supervise these programs, he has been talking with any group that sounds reasonable and comes forth placing issues for discussion. So we will not, on our own, determine the right of a sole organization as talking about the region, because every group has its own role, has its own responsibility for whatever reason. And so we want to show that understanding, because selecting from the groups or discriminating will only earn us another label of not wanting to interact with the group, because each group has a claim of relevance or essence or control